Hello, everyone. Again, welcome back to another episode of Rapid Subconscious Reprogramming. Today, I want to talk about self-image, how to think higher of you. This is something that a lot of people struggle with in being able to see more of their true self, see themselves in a more loving, more accepting way, recognizing their qualities and things like that. So I want to talk a little bit about this to help you out, start being able to truly see more who you are and get rid of who you think you are that might be not aligned with the truth. So welcome back again. Here, Tommy Walker, the Mind Engineer. I'm going to just change here the camera so you can see me. Okay, so thank you again for being here. If you're watching live, hashtag live, that will be great. If you're watching replay, hashtag replay, that will be awesome. So we're doing these calls to share value, to help anybody out there. We know there's a lot of people struggling with these kind of things, with mindset, and I want to just be able to help as many people as I can. So let's talk about, self-image. One of the things we need to understand, I've said many times, and I'll say it again, is that when we come to this world, right, in mom's womb and growing up, right, as we're born and then growing up, between 0 and 7 years old, we have no idea of who we are, right? And we start gathering information from the environment to learn who we are in a way. Unfortunately, and look, this is kind of, let's go back to this a second, it's kind of a computer, and I haven't heard several authors talk about this, and I've said it too many times. I was in, as a programmer in the past, I like doing this comparison too, about the computer. We got a computer that just came with the operating system and has no other programs in there. So if I want to do some editing of a Word document, I don't have the Word document, program to use it. If I want to edit a photo, I don't have, right? So when we're kids, our operating system comes with the basics. And then we start seeing the environment and downloading different programs, softwares, to put it in a way, right, that start creating everything about who we are, what is the world, what is love, what is, relationship, what is maybe sex, what is, communications, what is friendship. And we start gathering information according to the environment. But we need to understand that our environment was not perfect. Our parents made mistakes. They might have had wrong programs that they didn't even know they were there, or maybe they knew they were there, but they didn't know how to change them. And we adopted that as our own. As I mentioned several times, I was working with a woman that she was struggling with finding the right guy. And each time she fell for a guy, she was always falling for the wrong guys. So when we started, I started asking her, like, what do you look, out there for a guy to have that you would like to as a partner? She said amazing qualities about that guy. But when we started exploring the subconscious mind, remember the conscious mind runs 5%, maybe 10%, different books, it doesn't matter. And the subconscious mind, they talk about 95%. Science talks about the automatic pilot runs 90% of her life. So this woman, as a little girl growing up, her mom was she was always belittling dad and saying that he was emotionally unavailable, that he was a bad guy, that he wasn't, loving. And she would say all these negative traits about dad. This woman made in her subconscious mind, without even noticing, a list of what she should find in a guy out there. So although consciously, listen to this, although consciously she wanted to find a guy that was emotionally available, that was loving, caring, respectful, and all these beautiful things that all of us would like to find a partner that has these things, right? She would fall for the negative things because subconsciously she was looking for the negative traits. So why do I say this? What has that to do with self-image? We need to understand that we created our self-image based on others. Yes, listen to that again. We created our self-image, who we think we are, according to our environment. And if our environment was not okay, was not perfect. And it's normal because who's perfect, right? I'm a dad, I'm not perfect, right? And my kids are growing up in this environment, right? They could start creating their own limiting, negative, and false beliefs. So the image that you have about yourself normally is very limited compared to who you truly are. So a lot of people might say, okay, Tommy, so then how do I start really understanding who I am? Okay, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. And also, the biggest thing is who you are not. How to think higher of you has to do with you understanding these negative traits or negative qualities that you have acquired because this is what you were taught. It could be being hard on yourself. And look at this again, going back from 0 to 7, where we are between 0 and 7 years old, we learn mostly from our parents how they treat themselves individually, how they treat each other, and how they treat us and our siblings. Then we can add, of course, grandparents, we can add uncles and aunts, we can add teachers, school peers and things like that, of course, the entire environment. But everything starts with mom and dad, right? So how they treat each other. So if they were very hard on each other, or listen to this, mom was very hard on her, but maybe not so hard on me, I could have learned to be very hard on myself. And maybe my mom was loving to me, but as she was hard on her, I could have downloaded that program in my mind of me being hard on myself. I have worked with people that have told me, Tommy, I had a nice childhood, but I don't know why I put so high expectations on myself when my parents didn't do that to me. Right? But maybe again, you saw your mom set very high expectations on herself, or you saw your dad setting very high expectations on your mom, or your mom on your dad. It doesn't matter. All that combination could have created this program within you of you being hard on yourself. And this is how you're getting out into the world. So now, as people were hard on me as a kid, I might have started thinking that I'm not good enough. I'm not deserving, I'm not lovable, I'm inadequate, I'm not deserving, there's something wrong with me. And I start creating these limiting, negative, and false beliefs that I'm starting to call more and more, mostly in the sessions that I'm with people working one-on-one, I call them partial truths. Why partial truths? Because your parents, as they were being hard on you, maybe, or your mom being hard on her, and you started creating that behavior, you had limited information and not the maturity enough to say, oh, that's not okay what mom is doing to herself, or, oh, it's not okay that my mom is being so hard on me. I'm doing the best I can. You didn't have that maturity, that developed mind to be able to separate yourself from who you are according to how you're treated. And listen to that again, who you are according to how you are treated. Because each time, most of the time, we were not treated with love, with respect, we could start thinking, because as kids, we are the center of the universe, that there is something wrong with me, that I did something wrong and I am the problem. And maybe mom and dad are fighting in front of me, and I start thinking that I'm the problem because they're fighting. And maybe it has nothing to do with me, but I start thinking that I am the problem. Why? Because that's how the child mind works. So if I understand these things, I can now start working on developing, right, and exploring, let's put it this way, exploring what is my self-image. Because as I said at the beginning, most of our self-image, feeling inadequate, feeling not good enough, feeling not deserving, feeling that we, love is performance-based, that I need to do this, I need to do that, I have to have the perfect body, I have to have the perfect, lips, I have to have the perfect hair, I have to have the perfect clothing, I have to have the perfect car, house, X amount of money in the bank account, or whatever it is, right? Have the diet, the spiritual group, or whatever related to these things that are going to make me feel good enough, are going to make me feel valued, are going to make me feel worthy, that's when my self-image is already distortionate. Because the truth is, and this is what I believe, and this is what I share with others, is that we are amazing spiritual beings that are living a human experience, but we have gotten so entangled, so intertwined with this human part of us, so in a way scrambled up with this human side of us, forgetting our true self, our spiritual being. So interesting and little sad, but revelatory. Thank you, Suzanne, for your comment there. So we need to start challenging in a good way, exploring our own beliefs. How do I feel? Fill in the blanks. How do I feel about myself when things don't go my way? How do I feel about myself when, I don't get what I want? How do I feel about myself when I'm judged or criticized? Start making sentences and filling them out around these areas, right? How do I feel? We go back to the 3 questions. Yes, I know you heard them before, but this is the initial, initial stages to start going into the subconscious mind. How do I feel when things don't go my way? Why do I feel this? How do I feel when I don't get the job that I want? How do I feel when I don't get the clients that I want? How do I feel when my partner doesn't treat me I would like to? How do I feel when my parents don't give me the recognition that I would like to, or my friends or my family, my partner, whatever? How do I feel? Why do I feel this? Try to start finding a little bit of the story around it, because, I would like my partner to really tell me that I'm doing a great job. Why do I need my partner to tell me that I did a great job? Because, if my partner doesn't say that, who's going to say it, right? So I start finding the story, and then I'm going to ask myself, okay, how would it make me feel about myself? So how do I feel? Why do I feel this? And how does this make me feel about myself if my partner is not telling me what a great job I'm doing? It makes me feel a loser. It makes me feel like a failure. It makes me think that I'm not worthy. Those things that you're starting to discover about yourself are your negative self-image, your partial truth about yourself. And if it's difficult to do it that way, what I could recommend is you start in a way projecting onto others what's going on. So how do you feel your partner, how do you feel a partner thinks about you when you don't do things right? Or if you're not perfect? Oh, if I'm not perfect, I feel that my partner makes me feel, or I think that my partner makes me feel not good enough, unworthy, not lovable, whatever. So you start putting on others what you are telling yourself. So you need to start exploring the mind. The thing is, first of all, you need to become 100% responsible of these things. You need to understand that you are creating these things. So if I think that I'm not worthy because my partner is not recognizing the work that I do, or not making her feel loved or whatever, I already believe that. Whatever you're getting triggered with, whatever you're struggling with, is something that you already believe about yourself. So if I believe that, oh, this person made me feel not worthy because of what they said, I gotta own it and change it into or where am I making myself feel not worthy? Where am I not making myself feel worthy? Where am I judging or criticizing? Whatever it is, I need to own it. Nobody, and I know this is a difficult statement, people, and I'm doing this from the bottom of my heart because I want to help you. Nobody can make you feel anything as an adult. You have the power over that. So if somebody disrespects you and makes you feel blah, you need to understand that you are making yourself feel blah. Because if not, it's going to make it very difficult to change. Because if I expect others to treat me with respect, to make me feel happy, to make me feel worthy, I want to try to control others. And I'm going to ask you something. Have you ever fallen into people pleasing, not speaking up your mind because you were scared of what others would think or say about you? People pleasing is a perfect example, not speaking up your mind, not, saying the truth of how you feel, what you think, because others might not like it. Yes. You need to understand that it has to do with you in a way not accepting and loving yourself. And this is very important to recognize. Yes, we need to recognize what is going on. That has to do with maybe a lack of self-worth. Because if I love myself, if I feel that no matter what I say, if others don't like it, it's on them. And I don't mean being aggressive. I don't mean hurting others. Although they are hurting because of their own stuff, it doesn't mean that I can still go and do that. Don't take this out of context, guys, because I've heard a lot of people changing this story about this. Be careful with that. I'm not saying that I'm going to go there and say whatever I want, but I need to understand that if maybe I'm holding back, I might not be doing a favor to the other person, because if the other person is not behaving correctly, imagine that a person owes me money and I don't want to tell them to give it back to me because it might trigger them. That is not good for me, and that's not good for the other person, because if the other person you lent money to them and they told you they're going to return it in a month or two and they haven't returned it yet, that's on them. And if they get triggered each time you tell them to give you back the money, that's on them. That's not on you. You're just asking for something that is fair. So we got to learn, and this is the most difficult part, people, to discern, to be able to separate when it has to do with me and what it has to do with the other person. Because again, if I'm, sharing what's right for me, as if somebody did something, like somebody, I don't know, bumped into my car and now they try to leave without, giving me the insurance policy or sharing information or try to pay for what they did. And I try to stop them and they get pissed. Did I do something wrong? Maybe not. Maybe I was part where I shouldn't. That's on me. But maybe I did part where I should, and this person was not paying attention. They crashed, and now they want to pretend that it's not on them. They want to put it on me. Now it's I need to discern what belongs to me and what doesn't. Because we've fallen into this people pleasing, into not saying what's in our mind because we don't want to hurt others. But the problem is, but what if we're hurting already because of our own stuff, right? Don't get me wrong, but not speaking up. If somebody owes me money, that is affecting me, and that's not good for me. And it's also good for the other person if I speak up. So these are the things that we got to start, of course, questioning, seeing what's going on in our mind, because normally it has to do with our self-image. Thinking higher of ourselves is about connecting with ourselves, understanding where are the places where we think low about ourselves, right? I'm not good enough. I'm not deserving. I'm not lovable. What are the things that you're thinking that other people are thinking about you? Write them down, or that people have told you and have triggered you. What are things that you would never like somebody to call you? Seriously, write down that maybe. What are things that you would never like anybody to call you? That might be related with things that you believe about yourself. That again, it might be a partial truth. I'm not saying it's the truth. I'm saying that it's a partial truth. But it's something that maybe happened in your childhood, again, from those 0 to 7 years old, or maybe a little bit later. Don't get me wrong. The mind keeps downloading stuff and changing and adapting. But the most important years of our life are from 0 to 7. Even studies prove that when we are in mom's womb, our mind is starting to create programming. There are some studies, and Dr. Gabor Mate talks about this, into ADD or ADHD, where kids develop different type of learning disabilities or learning challenges. And it could, let's put it the right way, sorry, it could be connected with their upbringing. And there are more studies that are relating that. So instead of just dealing with medication, and I was supposed to have ADD, ADHD, and I've shared my experience where I was able to sit down for an hour, half an hour, and up to 4 hours meditating without having a problem of having to move. And I was told that I couldn't stop moving. That was my insecurity. That was my negative self-image, that I needed to keep moving so that my mind was busy and not thinking of the pain that I was feeling. It was a protective mechanism. Now I can stay still much longer for my mind and my body. It doesn't mean that I was 4 hours still in my mind, not thinking about different things. No, don't get me wrong, people. It's very difficult to be with a still mind for 4 hours. I've never done it before, but I was able to sit still for 4 hours meditating while my mind was going back and forth. Don't get me wrong, but I was able to do it for 4 hours. If I supposedly had ADD or ADHD and not medicated, I wouldn't have been able to do that. And I a lot of people come to me talking about their different disabilities. And the truth is, I feel and experience, and even science has started to prove it. It's not just Tommy, right? Because just Tommy wouldn't count much and it's okay, right? But science is starting to prove that there's a much more, connection between what's going on today in your mind, in your body, with what happened in your first years of life. So again, your self-image comes from childhood. What others made you believe about yourself. When your parents maybe called you, grumpy, when your parents called you, don't be angry, you're bad, you're mean, things like that, that they started tagging you. As kids, we couldn't separate and say, oh, I did something wrong. That doesn't mean that I'm bad or I'm a bad kid. We got to be very careful. And I still listen out there. Today, I was watching a guy that is amazing how he talks about, relationships and marriage. This guy talks about how he cheated on his wife and he calls himself a cheater. I'm a cheater. No, you're not a cheater. You did an action that is cheating, but that doesn't mean that you're a cheater. Or when people say, I'm an alcoholic, I'm sorry, but that's not your true self. That is an action, a behavior you created to try to protect something deeper. But I don't believe that the spiritual being is a cheater, is an alcoholic, or is a drug addict. If we are made from the universe, from God, a lot of people in these 12-step programs coming from, God, we are made in the image of God, and then they call themselves alcoholics or drug addicts. I believe that there is some type of clash there of their self-image. That's not who you are. Yes, you got to be careful, to falling into that behavior again, for sure, have it in check, but define yourself. I am an alcoholic. It is very powerful to the soul, to your being, because that's not who you truly are. That is something you fell into because you were trying to cope with pain or things like that. So we got to be very careful with the things we say. When we say, I'm stupid, I'm slow, I'm this, I'm that, that could be a temporary thing that could change. Because again, yes, it is true that a person that drank alcohol has to be very careful, that fell into alcoholism, being on check all the time because they can relapse, of course. But that doesn't mean that they are alcoholic. I am an alcoholic. No, that's not entirely true. That is my perspective of this, because they're tagging themselves in something. So they're putting a roof over their heads and not be able to discover their true self, their true self-image, and be able to think higher of themselves. It's amazing when I listen to people talking how much garbage they throw at themselves and they're not even aware of it. So this sharing today training is about being more aware of how you treat yourself. If it's difficult to figure that out, how you see others treating you, because many times how others treat you and trigger you, it has to do also with how you treat yourself. I'm not saying that it's okay how others treat you, don't get me wrong, but many times what I've seen in my experience in these 14 years studying and working on the mind for myself and thousands of people around the world, it has to do, normally we get triggered because we are treating ourselves like that. If I am around a person that has narcissistic traits and it triggers me, is because two things. It might remind me how I was treated as a kid, many times, yes, but there might be also some truth on how I treat myself. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. I hope this has helped, realize a little bit more how you might have negative self-images about who you are in the environment. Try to remember how it was at home. You can take some time, sit on a chair, lie down, breathe, and go back to old memories as a little girl, as a little boy, in your parents' house, grandma's house, at school. How was it? How did that little Tommy feel at school? Tommy at school felt rejected, felt the worst scum of earth. He was bullied, he was laughed at, he was taken advantage by girls, but he was taken advantage by boys, right? I still, have some memories. Do they bring pain? No, because I have dealt with many of them. But those things created a really negative self-image where I thought that I would never find anybody to love me. And I had to become this people pleaser to be able to be loved by women and also by men, don't get me wrong, but finding a partner. And I fell into this people pleaser when in many relationships that were very toxic, I accepted to stick around because I wanted to feel loved. So I had a very low negative self-image about myself that I had created because of the environment I was in as a little boy. My parents didn't do it on purpose. They made mistakes, as I am not perfect and I'm trying to make changes towards my kids, but doesn't mean that I'm being perfect. So they might be creating their own programs, but I hope they're better than my own programs that I had when I was a kid and as I had as I was growing up. And I'm going to teach them these skills as they grow up to help them deal with whatever negatives they might have around them. So it is a journey that I want to invite all of you to join, right, to help you, right, be able to live a much more happier, free, life along your way. So thank you very much for watching. I'm here seeing on social media, Tinetti, thank you for showing up. Grove, thank you for being again here. If you're enjoying this on social media, let me know, type a yes in the chat or a no in the chat, that's fine too. Remember, I love what I do. I'm okay to open to debate. I had this morning a guy debating with me. He got very, aggressive into saying a lot of lies about me. And I'm okay in listening. I'm okay in talking. But we're going to talk based on proof. We're not going to just talk about how, you think it is just because. Right? We need to understand that there is a science behind the mind, and the mind is much more basic than a lot of people put it out there as so complicated. It's much more basic. Whatever behaviors you're doing out of two main things. Try to find love out there or try to numb the pain of the lack of love. Those are the two main human drivers. When people talk about serving, yes, that comes from the spiritual side. That's what I believe, but it also is intertwined with our human side that wants to feel good enough, that wants to feel lovable, that wants to feel recognized, that wants to feel accepted, that wants to feel worthy, that wants to feel adequate. Thank you, Romana there, Colleen there, and I see them on Facebook. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you, all of you. I hope this helped. If you're jumping in, I'm going to finish this and you're going to be able to go back and watch it from the beginning. I hope I shared a lot of value. Let me know, type the word value in there if this resonated with you, if you liked it, if you want more of this, because that's why I'm here doing all of this free stuff to help as many people as I can. So thank you very much again. I'm going to end up here on Facebook. I'm going to stay on Zoom with the paid community to go a little bit deeper with this. So thank you again for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know. Thank you, Romana. You wrote down their value. I appreciate that. Whoever else is watching, let me know. I love to hear your comments, listen to your comments, or read your comments, whatever is fine. And if you have something you're not liking, please challenge me to explain better, maybe in a different way, whatever I'm saying, because all of this is based on science, right? There are proofs around these things. And I have the example of things to prove this to you guys. So thank you very much again for watching. I appreciate you guys sharing this with me, and I'll see you around next time. Take care. Bye.